Now what I'm going to do is welcome Fraser.
Good afternoon, David.
Hey Fraser, how are you?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me okay?
I can indeed. I'm bringing up your title slide here. So Fraser is Public Affairs Manager for State Farm Insurance Companies. Fraser is about to tell you that he's the managing editor of a team of writers, editors, and web developers who are responsible for the News Hub, State Farm's daily internet news and information source for State Farm employees and agents. Fraser's team also produces State Farm Red Magazine, a quarterly print and online publication for employees and agents. Fraser joined State Farm in 1998 as a public affairs specialist and has held a variety of positions in public affairs. And interestingly, for the purposes of our broadcast today, prior to his current assignment, Fraser was actually a broadcast television anchor and reporter for 12 years. So welcome aboard, Fraser.
Thank you, David. I'm glad to be here. We're excited to talk a little bit about how we've been using and partnering with PollStream for our News Hub, which I'll get to in just a minute. Alan was right at the beginning of the presentation. He said tools absent strategy are meaningless, and I would agree wholeheartedly. We use those PollStream tools, but it's really about how we incorporate those tools into our overall strategy of engaging and having a dialogue with our employees and agents. And over the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through a little bit about how we're using the comment engine as well as the poll within that daily news and information site called the News Hub, which I'll show you in just a minute. But David, if you could go to the next slide.
Sure.
I will tell everybody a little bit about State Farm for those of you who may not be familiar. We are headquartered in Bloomington, Illinois, which is smack dab in the middle of the state. We were founded in 1922. We are the #1 insurer of autos and homes in the United States. We have roughly about 69,000 employees in the U.S. and Canada, and about 17,000 State Farm agents in both the U.S. and Canada. We are a mutual company, which means we're owned by our policyholders. We are not a stock company, so we are not publicly traded, which makes us a little bit unique from other insurance companies and other Fortune 500 companies around the country and across the globe. If we could go to the next slide, that is the News Hub. This is our daily news and information website, which was launched in 2007. Its mission is really to help build business acumen, to help employees and agents understand the strategic direction of our organization and how we're doing. And it provides opportunities for two-way communications. It gives employees and our agents a chance to voice their opinions and ensures everyone gets information about the company before they read it, see it, or hear it from an external source. As I mentioned, it was launched in 2007, and prior to that, as a large company, we had so many different avenues and mediums for communicating that our leadership looked around and said, there's got to be a way that we can consolidate the huge amount of emails and other forms of communication that are going back and forth across the company with information our leadership would like everyone to know more about. So we stepped forward and we launched the News Hub in 2007. And it is comprised of an editor and 5 writers. We also have 4 web developers and designers. And as you look at it, it looks very similar to traditional media websites that you would see on the internet, for example, CNN, USA Today, MSNBC. And if you can go to the next slide, David, I'll talk a little bit more about how it's laid out and how we incorporate the poll and our comments into the News Hub. What you're looking at on the left-hand side is what our employees see every day. This is the first thing that pops up on their screen, as well as our agents when they come in the morning, when they open their browser. So it is a push rather than a pull. So everyone sees this, and then they have an opportunity to close it out, but they can't turn it off when they come in the morning, so it's in their face. On the upper left-hand side is our lead story. That changes daily, and it is typically a story about something in the industry or something within the walls of State Farm that is of importance probably to the entire organization. On the upper right-hand side is what we call Hub TV. This is a video story, or it can also be what we call a fast fact, which is an animated graphic with quick bite-sized tidbits of information that our employees and agents may find useful. The Hub TV, which rotates also, is a complete video package, again, about something that's happening within the organization or outside the organization that has impact on our employees and agents. On the left-hand side is the Hubcast. That goes up on Friday and stays up through Monday, and that is a video recap of the top stories that we feel employees and agents should know about. They may have missed during the week. So it's a video recap of the top stories. It is anchored by one of my reporters on the team who has a prior broadcast television news background. Below that is the Our State Farm module, and this was recently launched a few months ago. And this is a module which focuses on employees and agents who are living the State Farm values. And it can either be a video story or a print story with photographs and graphics. And it's really designed to showcase how our employees and agents are living our State Farm good neighbor values in their communities. The example you're looking at on the screen is a story which ran a few weeks ago about a State Farm agent who partnered with a soldier based in Iraq who noticed that a lot of Iraqi children wanted soccer balls but didn't have any. So the State Farm agent took it upon himself to launch a fundraising drive in his hometown and enlisted other State Farm agents to launch a fundraising drive to raise money to bring soccer balls to the Iraqi children. Below that is the poll, and I'll talk a little bit more about how we use the poll coming up. On the right-hand side of the screen underneath Hub TV are our top stories. And we usually add 1 or 2 top stories every day, and then we leave them up for a few days as they move down the pecking order. And these are really typically wire stories with a State Farm perspective. So they may be stories about something that's in the industry or something that's happening out in the business world that either impacts State Farm directly or indirectly. And we also put a perspective, if we can, as to how State Farm is impacted by those changes. Next slide, please. Give you a little bit more information about how we use comments. Going back to that Our State Farm module, for nearly every story on the News Hub, we turn on the comment engine for our employees. Agents are allowed to comment on those stories that our partners in our agency department wish them to comment on. The only types of stories that we don't allow employees to comment on are stories related to our claim handling or legal issues. But other than that, any story is fair game for our employees and for the most part for our agents to weigh in. All of our comments are monitored by our editor. We post our guidelines clearly when readers submit those comments so they know exactly that we have the right to refuse comments that we deem are inappropriate. For the most part, our employees adhere to those guidelines fairly well. What you're looking at on the left-hand side is a recent story from that Our State Farm module that I mentioned earlier, which is designed to showcase the values of our agents and employees. This story ran a few weeks ago. It's about an employee. The woman on the right is a State Farm employee, and she and her husband were having a garage sale on a Saturday morning in their neighborhood when a motorist came by who was having car trouble, an elderly woman, I believe, and she was really disoriented and didn't know what to do, and the husband ran out and he asked, "Who was your insurance company?" She mentioned State Farm. He said, "Well, my wife works for State Farm. We can help you." And this couple really went out of their way on their own time to help this woman and get her in touch with a State Farm agent and get the claim process rolling. And this type of story generated a lot of comments. And one thing I should mention is our leaders, our executive leadership, our most senior leadership, they are reading these comments, and oftentimes they're even going in and commenting themselves. In 2009, we took things a little bit further with these comments, and we allowed readers to reply to comments and also recommend the comments that they like. So also readers are allowed to rate the stories. So as you can see, this story generated about 3 or 4 pages of comments. So we received a lot of feedback on this one. Next slide, please. And when we talk about engaging the audience with these comments, since 2007, we've seen a steady increase in the amount of employees and agents who have been taking the time to comment on stories. This is showing to us that our employees and agents are engaged. Through November of 2009, which this slide shows, we've had a total of 24,400 comments, about 3,900 replies, and about 45,000 comment recommendations. So again, this is metrics that is really showing the value of how those comments are helping our employees feel connected to our organization and connected to the individuals and events that we're reporting on. Next slide, please. Now let's talk a little bit about the poll. As I showed you at the first or second slide, we also have a poll which changes weekly on the News Hub. The topics range from current events to business acumen to work-life issues. We find the most popular topics tend to engage on a personal level, and we vary the number of questions on our polls. They're usually from 2 to 3 questions, and also the style, from branching to linear to a quiz, and those change from week to week. The poll that you see on the left was up a few weeks ago as the new year began and people were beginning to think about their taxes. So we asked folks, do you do your own taxes? And we gave them 4 answers to choose from. And then after they vote, they were taken to another section of the poll. and they were allowed to vote on another section of questions and another section of questions. And as you can see on the right-hand side, when they finish the poll, they are given a running tally as to how the polling is trending. And also we provide them with some additional information, tidbits or resources of information that they can use related to that poll. And we see, as I said, we see a lot of opportunity here, again, for employees and agents to feel connected and engage through the polling. Next slide, please.